the organization chart over here to the right. Last week, for those of you who weren't here, we talked about the dashboard, which is what you're looking at right now. There is a whole session on the control panel and management review. I got a lot of questions towards the end about the functionality of the dashboard, which is great, but I also just wanted to remind you that we're going to go into way more detail about what goes on in the dashboard later in the sessions. We also discussed mostly the 4 key functions. So we talked about this being a place where all of the processes are listed. So every process, SOP, procedure that you have is listed here in the 4 key functions in one place or another. This is the master list of everything. So it's not possible for a process to be in your TouchStone account if it's not listed here on the 4 key functions. So the 4 key functions is also by subject area. And I just want to point that out again, because when we get to the org chart, it kind of shifts a little bit. So here in the 4 key functions, these are subjects of your business. So like management, finance, HR, these are the subject areas, not, and I want to differentiate that from people and what people do, even departments for that matter. So here is like a map of the subjects of your business. And it's a good thing to think about it that way, because sometimes when you think about people and who does what and who's accountable for what and who you need to hire, that kind of clouds this all up. And you're less able to see, practically speaking, what the tangible work is. What are the subjects and the work that needs to happen. So now we're going to go over here to the org chart. If someone were to ask me, like, what are the main tools in TouchStone, I would say the 4 key functions is a main tool or feature in TouchStone, and then the org chart is the second main tool or feature. These 2 areas or tools in TouchStone work together. So here in the 4 key functions, we have all the processes listed by subject. Here on the org chart, we have people, departments. And then these 2 tools come together when we link processes from the 4 key functions over here to the boxes on the org chart, and that creates what we call a job description. So every process that you're seeing listed here is inside or on my 4 key functions in one place or another. So it's kind of like we're looking at this list of everything and we're deciding who's accountable for what. So what are each of the departments and positions accountable for? And then you're literally linking them from here to here. And that again creates job descriptions. So every box on the chart that you would select, ultimately you would see a list of what that position is responsible for. So let's talk about the organization chart. So first I'm just going to discuss the main functionality within it, which is pretty straightforward and basic. And then I'm going to talk about how to use it, because that's really the most important thing. So how to use it strategically as a strategy tool, and how to use it practically, like every day, even now in your business. So all the functionality that exists on the chart is in these little 3 boxes right here, or little 3 dots. So if I want to edit a position title, if I want to remove a position, or if I want to add a new position, I just click these little 3 dots in the bottom right corner of any of the boxes. I see the edit feature here, add, which then adds a box underneath this one, and then remove, which deletes it. So if I choose edit here, then I'm going to see the title of the position. And then here is what we call the objective. So just like everywhere else in TouchStone, when you're prompted for an objective, or you see that term objective, it means the purpose of it. So what's in the process, or what is this position about? What is the main purpose of the position? So I'm going to go down here and add a box. So whatever box I want to add a position under, I click the little 3 dots and I go add, and then you'll see a new box appear right here. It always starts with untitled. Then you would go to the position, click the little 3 dots and choose edit. And then here you put in the name of the position. So name these positions. Never put a person's name in the title of a box on the chart. Always put the name of the position. So here, let's call this advertising assistant. Then I would go into the objective field. And so here's where that purpose is. This is the purpose of the position. What is it here for? High level. So it's not going to be a sentence. Well, I'm sorry, it's going to be a sentence. It's not going to be a paragraph because that's over explaining. It's going to be a very high level statement or sentence which describes the purpose of the position. And then I just hit save, and then the title appears. Think of these objectives like if you were putting in an advertisement for this position, how would you describe it if you needed to do that in a sentence or less? If I want to then edit the title of this box or any box, again, it's the little 3 dots, and then I would choose edit, and then this field opens again for me to edit. If I want to remove or delete this box, I hit remove. I'm going to have one chance to change my mind here. Are you sure you want to delete this position? If I hit OK, then that box you can see is gone. The consequence of that is that the job description for that position, if you had already built it, is gone. So what I mean is if you click the box and it's got processes on it, like this has got 2 processes on it, if I delete this advertising position, then this job description for this position is gone. Now, the processes aren't gone. The processes that have been linked to this position still live on the 4 key functions list. So I can go and remove processes by hitting this button called remove. I can delete the whole box, the whole position. But these 2 processes you're seeing here are still over here on the 4 key functions. I would have to go to the 4 key functions and then delete them from there for them to be gone. You can also move boxes around the chart. So I could take this position and move it here just by, I'm just not holding my mouse click down and I'm dragging it not to the side of or on top of or underneath, right on inside of. So not on top, over, left, right, or below, just right on it. And I let go, and then that box moves under. If I want to move it back, same thing. I'm going to put it here though, right? Because this is the position I want it under. Let go, and then it comes back here. You can move whole trees of the org chart just by taking the top position and then dragging it over under another box or position and then let go. And you can see the lines have changed. Now this whole tree is now under this position. Same thing, I can move it back, but now I'm going to move it under president here and then let go. And now it moves back to its original position. So you can easily drag and drop moving boxes around the chart. Currently, one thing that you can't do is reorder the main position titles. So if I wanted the sales and marketing department to be over here and then admin finance to be over here, currently that functionality doesn't exist. That is something that is coming to the org chart eventually, along with some other features. Last that I saw, I think that was going to be the winter release. So we're talking about maybe next year. We do have a lot of exciting things coming in the fall release, which I'll start to tell you about in the next few weeks. So you can drag and drop to reorder positions all you want, but I can't currently swap the position titles. The only way to do that would be to rename the positions. So if you haven't built your job descriptions yet, I could go here and retitle this. Oops. Or just choose edit in the little 3 dots here. And then I could name this manager of admin finance, and then therefore switching the order of the departments. You can't do that if you've built the job descriptions though, because if I've linked positions to the sales and marketing position here, if I change the title, well, that's not going to make sense because all of the marketing managers' processes are here. Okay. You see me dragging the chart around. I'm just holding my left mouse click down and I'm dragging to the left and to the right and up and down. If you have a laptop and you're using a little finger pad, it gets kind of wonky. You can't control it as well. So when you're moving your chart around or working on your chart, get a mouse. It's the best way to kind of control it more controllably. If you do, you can also zoom in and out. This is somewhere where the little flat pad kind of messes with people. Here with the mouse, I can easily control the zoom in and out. But again, with a little laptop finger pad, it gets a little wonky. If your chart's gotten like huge and weird and you can't control it, just go and refresh. And then it's going to go back to its original shape and size. You can also drag up and down here in your scroll bar. So if your chart goes more to the right, the scroll bar is going to appear, which allows you to kind of drag it up and down too without using your mouse. If your chart is really long and wide, you want to see just one department, say, and not all the departments, you can collapse these positions down. So when I hit that little negative sign, this just closed. And if I hit the plus sign again, then they open. I could get rid of like 2 departments here. And so I just see this department. And then you just click the plus to expand it again or refresh your screen and it will expand again. This is a good thing to do when you're trying to print your chart, which is, not always easy in a web environment because charts can be really large. And then no matter what we do to allow you to zoom in and out, you're going to lose clarity of the chart at some point, and even printing it's going to be tough. And then if you go to print it, you're going to have long paper. So there's not a perfect solution for this yet. Who knows? Maybe there will be eventually. So the best solution for printing, I feel like, is to take a screenshot of your chart, either by let's close this, doing a print screen. Sorry. This is a image I've got up. So go to your snipping tool right here. Windows operating systems all have the snipping tool. If you have a Mac, you probably have something different. This is what the snipping tool looks like. I would just go new image, and then I can go here and take a whole screenshot of it. And so now it can be saved as a JPEG or a GIF file, and then you can print it this way. You're going to have do it landscape, and this chart's pretty small. So if your chart got longer or bigger, then you'll want to maybe collapse down these 2 departments, and then I can take a screenshot of just this and then print that. I suppose you could also, just using the snipping tool, you could take a picture of, just this. So you have a lot more flexibility, and then you can go and take a picture of each department and then print it. So if you're dead set on printing it, then this is kind of the way to go. I've also seen people put the image into Adobe Professional or some kind of editing software, and then you can piece it together a little bit better and then maybe print it on landscape extra long paper. All right. This little search button here is for searching for positions. This only makes sense if you have a huge organization chart. So here I could type in sales, and then I see the position titles that have sales in them, and then it's just going to flash and show me where it is. If this chart was numerous pages long to the right, say, and I type that in, it would pull me back to where this box is on the chart and highlight it. So that's the basic functionality of the org chart. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Some of the things that are going to be coming to the org chart in the future are colored boxes, which is kind of a fun thing to have. So here you see we just have the blue that highlights the top, but you'll be able to make different colored boxes. The drag and drop or moving positions around will be a bit enhanced. And I've seen some other kind of cool things, but I'm not going to make any promises because you never know. You never know what's possible or what actually gets done. So let's talk about just some things related to building the org chart that I think are good techniques. One thing is you only want to have one box for every position. So you see here, I've got this box called advertising. Let's say I had 4 advertising people. I don't want 4 boxes that say advertising 4 times. I don't want to create 4 boxes. If it's only one position that's filled by 4 people. Rather than doing that, this technique is a good one right here. So you've got salespeople and the number 5 here. That lets me know just by looking at the chart that my goal for the future or the current situation is I have 5 salespeople. The reason this is it just creates duplicates. So the chart would be much bigger than it needs to be too. And as you saw from the scrolling back and forth issues, and the bigger the chart is, the harder it is to kind of maneuver and see in TouchStone. So if you do have that situation, I'd suggest you delete those positions and then pull it back to 1 box and then put the number in. Another thing can be tricky is to try to put people's names in boxes. So if I have 5 salespeople here, and if I tried to put their name, everybody's name in this box, the box is gonna, it's gonna cut off the text. So you see, like right here, this says manager of operations, and here, right here, manager of sales and marketing. This is about as big as it gets right here. You'll see over here, this says manager of administration and finance. Well, it's cutting that off. If I click on it, you'll see it has the whole position title here when I click on it, obviously, but from the face of the chart, it's cut off. So if you put people's names in those boxes, if you want to be able to see it from the face of the chart, you won't be able to see it. Okay. You can put the names of the people who fill the role in the objective, though. That's a good place for them. So this is the objective, and you could list names here of who the salespeople are if you really want to see it when you click on that box. TouchStone knows who fills what box, because in account administration over here, I list out all the employees, all the people, and then I assign them to a box on the org chart. So when we go here to the dashboard, you'll see an example of this. Here in management review, I've got 3 bookkeepers, and you see their names here. That's because they've been assigned the bookkeeper box on the org chart. I've got 3 customer service people, and they're all listed here. So TouchStone knows who your employees are and what roles they fill on the org chart. Furthermore, when they log into TouchStone and start using it, and they go to the control panel and complete things and all that great stuff, TouchStone knows it's unique to them. So if Mary goes into the bookkeeper position and does things, it saves that confidential to her. And then when Mike goes and accesses the same things and fills those out, now it's confidential to him. So only the individuals see what they're doing. And of course, their manager, me right here, can see what they're doing. So if your question is, well, how do I know who fills what role? Well, the dashboard shows you that. You don't need it here on the org chart. Having said that, this is your account. If you want to add things there to see it in a different way, that's completely up to you. The downside is the chart gets bigger and more cumbersome, and you don't really see titles unless you click on the position. So let's talk about the objective field for a second. When I click this box on the chart, I'm going to see the title right here of the position. Here's another example of putting like names in the title, how it doesn't show up on the chart, but it shows up here. Underneath the title, if I want to edit the title from here, all I do is click on it. So it can be edited from the face of the chart, or you select the box and it's here. Underneath this is the objective. So this says create marketing strategies and objectives and manage the sales department. That's a good objective. Very high level. It's simple, straightforward. It's the essence of the position. It's the main goal of the position. It's a good thing to know about each of your positions on your org chart. What are they there to do if you had to condense it down to a really simple phrase? What's their main purpose? So this is something you can use in advertising. It's something you can use to talk to the person about their roles and objectives. So let's go back here to the org chart. you can expand it if you want to. So I'm going to show you an example of that. So if I click here, this is an objective that's a little more elaborate. I'd still recommend that you have that short, concise statement. Report on the company's financial status, manage human resources and employees in support of the entire company. That's a good one. So that's the manager of admin finance, or the office manager. In addition to that, you could put things like this if you want to. So education and experience requirements listed, skills listed. The only thing you don't want to do is start to list the processes, the work that this person does, because that belongs down here. So don't go into that level of detail if it's going to be listed, obviously, in the process section. This kind of stuff, I think, is good for recruiting and hiring. And when people think of traditional job descriptions, this type of stuff would be on a traditional job description. But in TouchStone, the job descriptions are really work focused. They're task oriented. They're the actual work that occurs. They're not qualities and subjective things and requirements that you hope the position has or skills. Another way to get information like this in TouchStone and linked to the position, if you want it to be, is you could create a process and call it education and skills for the manager of admin finance. So create a process that says that, and then you create a document in that process and call it education, experience, and skills. And then you can cut and paste that information into that section. And then you link that process to the job description. So anytime that position goes here, probably in the strategic section, they'd see a process title that says skills and experience, or skills and requirements, and those things would be listed. My opinion of this is that this is good information to have. Obviously, you need to have it when you're recruiting, but it's not something that this person needs to look at every day. Shouldn't be like highlighted on the very top and center focus all the time. It's, something that's good to know, but not crucial for everyday work. I'm going to go back here to the organization chart. I have a few questions I'm going to answer quickly. Someone's asking, what if roles are the same name and you just have a few different processes per person? Ooh, that's a good question. So what I think you're saying is if the position has the same title, but the people that fill that position do different things. So my recommendation on that is that first of all, it's a bit people dependent, because if the position is the same and the people filling those roles do different things, my guess is that's happened because of just the need to have somebody be doing that. And one person might be better at it than another. It could be more tangible things like someone comes in the morning and the other person comes in the evening, therefore they have different things they do because of time. So I would really look at that and ask yourself, is this really two positions is on the org chart, two different boxes on the org chart? Positions can have some overflow to them. So there could be a position that, a process that two positions do. So like I might have a sales process that the salesperson does, and then the sales assistant also does. So in that example, I would link that process to both boxes on the chart. So my guess is that it's because those are actually two separate positions if it's a different amount of work or different type of work that's occurring. Another thing place where I see that comes up is when you're dealing with a hierarchy. So I have a position that's doing maybe entry-level work here, and then I have a position that does more advanced work, and then I have the senior position. So you may have in those roles a person who's a little bit better at what they're doing than the other person. Therefore, they are given extra or different work. So really think about that and project it into the future and ask yourself, is it really two positions, like an entry-level position and then a senior position? Another place I see that come up is when you've got people whose work is spanning multiple departments because of people dependency and also just because of the needs of the business. So an example of that might be, I've got my salesperson here, but since this person is so great at bookkeeping, this is an extreme example, they do some bookkeeping work. Or maybe they're a salesperson, but they also do some customer service because I don't have enough money to hire a customer service person yet. And they started doing that and they're really good at it. So then this salesperson over here is different from the other salespeople because they're doing some customer service work too. So in that example, break those positions apart. Create your customer service position, even if it's a position that you're going to fill in a couple years, and then have that position there. And what's happening in the current situation is the salesperson who was also doing customer service is filling both of those boxes. So they're this box and they're this box until you go to the point that they can be removed from this position. Having said all that, there's another thing you can do. So I'm going to go here to the dashboard. So let's take these two as examples. When I click on Mary's control panel here, I'm seeing all the work that she's responsible for. These groups here are controlled by you, so you can create groups. This is an example of someone being trained. So this is what they learn in week 1, week 2, week 3. When I go to another of the bookkeeper, Mike here, we're seeing the same processes that we saw when we clicked Mary, exactly the same. So if you have two people filling the same role, but Mike here does 1 or 2 processes that Mary doesn't do, you can go to that person's control panel, create a group and call it do not use, and hit save. And then go down here, there's the do not use, and take those processes that he's not supposed to be doing and then drag them to the bottom. So they're out of sight and you explain to him, you're not doing that work yet or ever. This is only for Mary. So then when you go back to the other person's control panel, they'll see that process in the direct flow of what they do. All right, so that was a long-winded answer to that question. Okay. So let's talk now about how to use the org chart as a management tool, as a strategic business tool. In my opinion, this is one of the best tools a small business can have, especially when you're trying to scale. Even if you're a larger company, these types of techniques and the things I'm going to explain can be done departmentally. So if you're a manager on the line now, and I recognize some people's names who are here who are managers, what I'm about to describe can be used for just your department. So if you have in a bigger company, you don't have control over what happens in the other bigger departments, think about it for your own individual situation. So in the organization chart, you'll notice that there are levels. So I've got the owners or board of directors, shareholders always at the top. And no, this box should never be deleted. People do delete it and you can, but in my opinion, it should not be deleted because this represents you as the entrepreneur, you as the owner, the chairman of the board, the shareholder, and your agenda or your mindset in that role is much different than it is when you're the president or the ops manager or a salesperson. The goals that you have for your business are seen in a different light than they are when you're down in these positions in the org chart, which a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners are pulled into the technical work, obviously, the managerial work, and can't just sit here as chairman of the board. So think about that. Think about keeping that position and what the mindset is that you need to have. So in the owner's box or the chairman of the board, these people set the strategy for the whole company. They decide what do we need to do in the business to maximize shareholder value, to increase the value of the asset, not to pay people or what we get paid or any of that. It's increase the value of the asset. So they take that mindset and they implement it through the president or the CEO or the general manager, whatever you call it. So the goals and strategies that are formed here then are implemented through this position or person. This person then implements those strategies further by delegating them down to the key departments of the business and the key managers of those departments. So sales and marketing is responsible for the sales and the marketing strategy and the advertising processes that propel or allow the vision to be achieved. Operations manager is responsible for the delivering of the products or services in a profitable way that is going to be dictated by the sales. Then admin finance. This is the department that serves the rest of the company, provides support, provides information, and does that at the scale that is necessary for this growing business. So the objectives become clearer when you get down to this row. If you think about it, it's like getting the business, doing the business, running the business, and then all of these up here are all guiding the business. So it lays over the 4 key functions if you think about it. So when these people are delegating or passing their objectives down to this person, and this person is passing those objectives down in a results kind of driven fashion to each of the departments, you can see where it gets kind of convoluted and complicated when one person is here and here and here and sometimes here. That's where it gets disorganized and difficult. So the best way around this, if this is the situation you're in a growing business, is to try to compartmentalize. Think, what are my goals and objectives when I'm here? What are my goals and objectives when I'm here? Now, then I got to bring it down even further and say, what are my goals and objectives when I'm here? Because when I'm here, I'm trying to bring in leads. I'm trying to convert those leads. I'm not worrying about how they're going to be delivered or serviced. And you can see where the mindset gets contradictory and difficult. So below, in any organization, these are typically the 3 departments that you would have. And I don't care about what the industry is or what type of business it is. These are the 3 results, the 3 departments that would typically exist. So sales and marketing, getting business, operations, delivering those products or services, doing it, and then admin finance, which is the running of it, the supporting of it. Now, in some businesses, you're a sales organization like insurance maybe, and then the operations is done through subcontractors or through a subsidiary. That's fine, but you still need something here because there is a pass off of what you're selling when it's actually needing to be delivered. So in some organizations, there might be a bigger sales and marketing department and less of operations, or vice versa. Nonetheless, these 3 areas need to exist. There also needs to be a manager of each of these departments. It's just an absolute must. So the manager sits above all the positions in the department and implements the processes that are necessary to achieve the results. So start to think about it that way, because this is what TouchStone is going to give you and allow you to do. This person here isn't just managing people and trying to get sales and running around trying to grow the business. They are constructing or creating the processes, the step-by-step, the results-driven processes that are going to achieve the results. They then train the employees to use, implement, get success from those processes. I don't go out and try to find this amazing salesperson that's going to solve everybody's problems and bring sales in. I try to create a fantastic, amazing sales process that I can train people to use. That's scalable, that can be reproduced, replicated, people could be trained on it. So this org chart helps you start to think about things that way. So in sales and marketing, there are like 3 things that occur typically. There's the strategy side of it. So marketing strategy, who are you going after? How are you going to go after them? What's their mindset? What are their demographics, psychographics, all that stuff. There's the lead generation, the advertising, so generating qualified leads. And then there's the sales or lead conversion. So if you think about it that way, that really answers the question, what positions do we need here? So we need marketing strategy to occur. So marketing coordinator, social media analyst, whatever you want to call them. The manager is primarily accountable for the strategy. Then we need advertising positions. lead generation, advertising, and then we need salespeople, with the idea being activities occur to generate leads, and then the salespeople convert those leads. That's the best way to think about growing your business. Qualified leads. How am I going to generate qualified leads? How am I going to filter those leads to put the most qualified, best leads in front of my salespeople so they'll be the most successful in converting them? So think about what your story is here. So what positions do you need to achieve those results? Think about the goals of your business. So up here, these people are saying, we want to grow by 50% in the next 2 years. So what if you dissect that and bring it down to this person and then to this person needs to be thinking, how many leads do I need to generate, and at what rate do they need to convert in order to achieve the goals of the company, to make this person happy and this person happy? So that is what systems need to be created, what processes in order to generate leads, and then what processes can we rely on to convert those leads at a certain rate. Marketing to a certain degree it's not subjective, it's really tangible. It's something that you can evaluate and measure. So all those leads are coming in, hopefully, and then they're put on this department here, right? So all the new sales are coming in, and now these people need to deliver those services or products to those customers in a profitable way. So this position here is thinking about service delivery, product delivery, production, construction. How can I take something that has been sold and deliver it in the most outstanding quality way? So within your operations department, and this looks different depending on what industry you're in, think about what is the best setup for that result to be achieved. So every customer is fulfilled 100% of the time, just as promised. What needs to happen here in order to make that happen? So I would suggest that quality control is probably number one. So that means, how is it produced to then be delivered with all of the qualities it needs? And that is training. It's having qualified people following processes in order to get those results. So here you'll see an example of that, or one way to deal with that. So here I've got entry-level technician. Here I've got junior, maybe, or we're calling it lead, and then I have senior. So this is a way to manage quality. This person just comes in off the street in some cases, and I train them in the apprentice processes. It takes 2 months to train them. Then I move them up here to senior tech, and then they learn these processes, and that takes another 4 months. And then I train them, then they learn those, and then I move them up here to senior, and then they learn the last 10 processes that they need. So they've moved from here up to here in a certain amount of time. And they've been trained in your proprietary asset, which is your operational processes. This is the processes and techniques and tools that you use to ensure that your products are delivered or your services are delivered in the most exceptional way possible. What a lot of small business owners do instead is they say, let me find this person here. We'll go out and try to find this senior person. I'm going to plug them in, and they're going to watch so-and-so for a couple months, and then they should be just as good as someone I've had for 5 years. I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea. You're always looking for this person. And it's a terrible fight to try to find that person. This is when you're thinking things like, nobody can do it the way I can do it. Nobody can do it the way Bob can do it. The employees are terrible. They're always making mistakes. They're not accountable. They're not listening to me. They don't care. There's no trained people out there. The employee market is horrible. I put ads in and I just get terrible people coming, and then I'm losing money. And so all that is this concept or this idea that you can find this person all the time. A better way to think about it is, it's your business's job to create these people. So from here to here, what's that going to cost you? What kind of processes do you need to have? This kind of mindset can be implemented in other areas of the business. So here, like sales assistant, I hire people here and I expect a certain amount of them based on their minimum qualifications that I would hire them at, and then they move here. Marketing assistant, they start here, they move here. It's a better way to hire people than to say you're just here. In operations, it takes on even a more critical value, because here in any operations, whether it's service or products, you have to deliver those products and services for a certain amount of money. I mean, it's just the way it is. Cost of goods sold, cost of service, which those of you who know about this know that fluctuates with sales. So if you have people who are untrained and making mistakes, and you need your cost of goods sold to be at a certain amount, and they keep making mistakes, and it's more products, more time and service, it's time, wasted time, rejects, people coming back, products, it's wasted materials, wasted labor, all that amounts to a cost of goods sold that doesn't work. And if you put a ton of sales over here onto this dysfunction, you're going to get no profit. And these are the situations where you look at your P&L at the end of the quarter and you're like, man, we had the best sales month ever. Where did all the money go? Where is it? Well, it's lost here typically. So this is just a way to start to think about operations differently, if that helps you. Another thing to think about here is productivity. So like timesheets, what are people doing? How long is it taking them to do it? That's another thing that can be really helpful in operations and evaluating profitability. In a growing business, a small growing business, you're always in this fight of sales and marketing to operations. It's always this back and forth. I need more sales. Well, then I need more service delivery. I have less sales. Well, crap, now I got too many people. So it's this balancing act between the two all the time. The org chart can help you see it. It's not a perfect solution, but it'll help you see it way better than probably any other tool I've seen. So what this gives you is a way to analyze. So a way to know predictably, roughly, how many leads are going to be coming in. Well, then how long is it going to take me to get people from here to here? How long is it going to take me to get people from here to here in order to be ready for that sales delivery or those new sales coming in? And then the opposite. So if I don't have sales coming in over here, how many people do I need here? And then the back and forth of it all. Next, let's talk about admin finance quickly. This department, I think, gets a bad rap a lot of the time because people think of it as overhead. They're just sitting around costing salaries and money. What are they actually doing? That's wrong thinking to a certain degree, because this department here, in a way, allows everyone else to be more effective. So if you're getting good admin support, then these income generating departments can be more effective. If you're bringing in employees, or you're not interviewing them well and you're hiring employees and then dumping them over here and expecting this person to manage and train them, and they're a rotten employee, it's just wasted time. The cost of a bad hire, I don't know, I heard this, it's been years since I've thought about this, but a bad hire, I think it was like 10 times the annual salary, something like that. It's astounding. It's hard to believe. So what I'm talking about is the wasted time and money that comes from a bad hire. So that's one way that this department is supportive. Another way is through bookkeeping and finance. So if you can't tell me what the cost of goods sold is, how am I going to know if these people are delivering it in the correct way? If you don't even know, how do you know? So that's all, good financial statements, good time tracking, good expense allocation, all those great things that a good accounting system and a good bookkeeper can do. And 20 or 30 to 60 days in arrears is too late. So if your bookkeeper here is producing reports and they're 3 months old, well, that's way too late for these people to gain any value from that. And then also for sales. And believe me, I've seen this a lot of times where a business owner can't tell you what their sales were, can't tell you what it takes to generate a qualified lead, can't tell you what a good conversion rate is for their business, can't tell you what the expenses over here are, let alone what the results are. And oftentimes it's because of lack of this department. You don't have a CRM, you don't have IT support, you don't have a way of evaluating and calculating all of that. So it's like all these people moving around in the dark if you don't have good financial CRM, IT, production software, and good documentation for it all. So sales and marketing or admin finance department, think about what your key positions are here. To the degree that you have good processes and enough people doing this type of work is to the same degree that all of these people are going to be more effective and more profitable. So with all this in mind, approach your organization chart first by thinking into the future. So I've talked that way as I've gone through this, but think into the future. So 2-3 years out. Don't go more than 3 years because that's a little hard to kind of tangibly plan for. So go 2 years out, say, think about what are your sales goals start with that for those 2 years. At the end of those 2 years, what size of a company do you want to have? Then think about what it's going to take to get there. So start with that 2-year vision in mind. Say this business is doing 10 million in 2 years. Build your organization chart, the whole chart as a picture of that business in the future. Think about what positions you need to have in the future. If 2 years is too hard for you, just do it for 1 year. You don't want to go beyond the 2 or maybe 3 years because then you're going to have a ton of positions on your chart that aren't going to be filled for a long time. And that just makes it more complicated. So think about what is the size of this business in this 2 years. Consider what we talked about in each department. What's the increase in sales going to need to be? How many more leads are going to need to be generated? How many salespeople are going to be necessary for those leads? Once all those sales are coming in, what is this going to need to look like in order to be able to profitably, efficiently deliver those products or services of the business that's doing 10 million? And then what support do you need? Think about position titles. Erase all people that you currently have now and personalities from your mind and think positions, departments. Once you get that picture of the business in the future, then stop and lay over your current situation. So that future chart is relevant now. It works now. So future in 2 years, then lay over your current reality. So what that means is start to put people's names in boxes for who's doing what. So put your name here, your name here, your name here, if that's the situation, your name here and here, unfortunately, if that's the situation. Don't say to yourself, well, I'm not going to have a sales and marketing manager for probably at least a year, so I'm going to leave this position off. No, this is future. So think about the future position. Then take your people, your actual employees. For some of you, this will be easy because you've got maybe a bigger company that you can start to organize a little bit better. And some of you, it will be new. It'll be kind of brand new to think about what you need in the future. So lay those people's names inside of boxes. Who are the salespeople? Who does advertising? Who does the marketing strategy? What senior people do you have? Start to think of your technicians, if that's the term you use, or service people. Of the 5 people you have, who would you say is really just junior right now or lead? Who is really entry level if you looked at it honestly? Who's senior? And then same with sales and marketing. If you have 1 office person and 1 receptionist, you know you need all of this to be effective in 2 years at 10 million. We'll put that person's name here, and then here, and here, and here, and then the receptionist here. Or if you've got, it's kind of a quagmire of work where 2 people are doing all of it, then make a decision. Who does the bookkeeping? Whose name should go here? What boxes are truly empty? Some guidelines around this. In managerial roles, it's only 1 person. Don't ever put 2 people in 1 manager's box. Don't say, well, I've got someone who's sort of the manager here, but then I also do some of that, so let's put both our names here. Rather, think to yourself, is the person here that's filling those managerial functions, are they capable and able, and are they someone you would hire off the street to be the manager? you've given their skills and their qualifications. Would you hire them off the street to be the manager? If the answer is yes, then yeah, make them the manager. If the answer is I don't know, or maybe, then put your name in this role for now. And then work towards documenting the processes for this managerial position and the ones below, and then make a decision in the future whether you're going to promote that person. Sometimes this is tough conversations to have with people. And it's really the only tough part about getting this result of having your people organized by position is if you have someone in a role where they think they're the manager, but they're not quite ready for that. And this happens all the time because this person up here is saying, I need help. What can you do here? Well, can you look over this person here? And then would you run those reports for me? And now suddenly they are this role, but not really. They've and sometimes been promoted beyond their capabilities. But in other situations, more relevant, they're overwhelmed. Like you're asking them to do this position, maybe even some of this position. And then now you're the manager. Well, they're spending 90% of their time doing technical work. How are they going to manage the people? It's not reasonable. So think about your, how this lays over for you and what it looks like, but ultimately put names in boxes, and then in empty boxes or boxes where you, or if you're a manager, where your name is in boxes where you know it shouldn't be, then put a tentative hire date. So like here, if I click this position, I can go right to the title and I can put, let's say Q4 2022. So that's the future hire date, save. Now, if I go back to the chart, if my position title isn't too long, then I can see it right here. So think about now to the next 2 years, think of quarters of a year, like months of a year, a little too hard to plan for unless you're sure, but think of quarters of the year when you're going to fill that position. Then the idea is to systematize or document all the processes for this position before this date. That would be ideal. Doesn't always work out that way, but that would be ideal. Even if you had all the processes listed and just a few of them documented, would be better than not doing this at all. So think about it that way. So you would have a name in the box, or you would have the future hire date. Now, these hire dates can help too because of this juggling between sales and marketing and operations we were talking about. So when do you hire these people? So if you think it through using a budget, which is a great tool, you can then see, well, as sales start to grow here, we start to spend more money on advertising. The sales cycle is a certain amount of time, then we should probably get the technician in here at this date. So then they move here and then they move here in enough time to be able to have enough senior techs. So future hire dates. Another thing to look out for when you're laying the future goals with the present situation is when you have an employee who is spanning multiple departments. So this exists a lot in growing businesses. And what happens typically is you hire someone to do a certain role, or you think you're feeling I'm overwhelmed. So now I have the money, I'm going to hire a lead tech right here, or I'm going to hire a customer service person. That person comes to work for you and they're really great. They're a great multitasker. They've had some advertising experience. So they're doing some of the advertising work, and then they know a little bit about HR. So then you're delegating this stuff to them, and then they're really good with people. So you're like, oh, why don't you be the manager? And then we'll hire this person next. So this person is indispensable. Like they're all over the place in your company. They're doing great work for you. You just love them. You couldn't live without them. That's dangerous for the obvious reasons. If they quit or something happens, then you're at this huge loss because you don't even know what they do. They do so many things and they're so good at it. But what the bigger consequence is that person is miserable most of the time. They're overwhelmed. They go home and cry every night. They want to make you happy, but it's too overwhelming. They may not even be telling you how difficult it is. It's the multitasking, which is really difficult, and the shifting of objectives. So like here, I'm like, get all the sales in the door. Here, I'm like, deliver the products in the best way, which sometimes conflicts with get all the sales in the door. And then over here, I'm like, wait a minute, we need to get organized. We need to have we need to have the numbers right. And so you can see where this dynamic is just, it's fighting in someone's mind, and it makes them ineffective at everything, really. A multitasker, someone who's great at that, is really not great at that. And it's very stressful. So in those situations that they exist, even to a minor degree, it might not be as tragic as what I'm describing. This future organization chart in the present situation can help you, because you can take that person and you can say, okay, you do advertising or marketing coordination. You're also doing customer support, and you're also a bookkeeper, or you are advertising, you also do some sales, and then you also do some marketing coordination. So it could be within one department, or it could be spanning departments. So rather than not knowing what that person does, and in fact, not even knowing, you say, okay, you're this box, you're this box, and you're this box. We're going to dial in these 3 positions. We're going to list all the processes on the job description. We're going to start to work on documenting them. And then we're going to hire in someone for bookkeeping here. And then we're going to hire someone in for customer service on this date. And then I'm going to want you to be here. And this is what you'll do here. So you organize it in a way using the org chart that brings some relief, creates some priorities, and also there's a way out. Okay, so there is a library process that helps with all of this that I want to point out, and I know we're going to be a few minutes over. So it's over here. I'm going to go to the dashboard to show you. So I'm clicked on the dashboard, and now I'm going to the control panel for this position, Manager of Admin Finance. And then I'm going to click this process here called Salary and Hourly Raise and Bonus Policies. It's kind of a mouthful of a name. This process is in the Running the Business library. I hope it is. It's here in the Running the Business library. So you go Process Library Add, and you can find it there. If you've had a TouchStone account for a long, long time, and you downloaded this process, but you never used it, edit the title and then go and download it again, because there's been some updates to it. And then you can compare the two, or if you know you've never used it, you can just delete it and then download the new one. So this is the content of the process. There's a work plan here called Raise Policy, and it gives you a step-by-step for how you would project raises for an employee. So you hire someone in at a certain amount, and then you project what their salary increases will be for, I think it's up to 7 years, which is the lifespan of an employee, roughly. And then you can see what they make currently and what they should be making, and then make sure that they don't tap out in a certain number of years. So that's kind of a mouthful. I'll go back here. How this is relevant to what we're talking about is, if you want a profitable business in 10 years at 10 million, well, all of these positions need to work. So you need to be able to afford all of them. And then you need to be profitable at the end of those 10 years with all these positions filled. So you need to know what your sales are, what your cost of goods sold are, what your fixed expenses are, in order to get a net profit that makes sense to make these people happy. In order to do that, you need to be able to control the salaries, or at least know what they are. So what does this position make if you were to hire them right now, if you already have this position, or if you were to fill this position soon? And then as the business grows over the next 2 years, what are the percentage increases that you'll need to give to the employees in order for it to make sense at the end of 7 years, say? This is something that all small business owners need to think about, because we've all been in situations where you've had good years and given somebody a salary increase over and over again, and now you can't afford to pay them anymore. There's also something called a bonus policy, which is different from a salary increase. There's how to use the annual raise calculator. So this is more related to this. So it's a step-by-step for, we have a spreadsheet, which I'm going to show you, that shows the percentage increase each year on a spreadsheet. And this is like a how to do that. And then estimating minimum, maximum wages and salaries. So back over here, if you're looking at this future chart, remember, 2 years in the future, you want to create salaries or hourly wages for all of these positions in the future. And then you want to know what your overhead is, what your labor expense is, and then know that it's profitable. Then that helps you to see what your sales need to be, right? In order for it to be profitable at the 10 million. This is what I would call like swooping kind of widespread number analysis. I used to do efficiency planning back when I first got out of college, and we used to do like detailed efficiency plans for growing businesses. This is a wide sweeping one, which I believe works incredibly well. You have to let go of all of the detailed yeah buts and look at it in a big picture form. So what I mean is all of these positions projected out to 2 years, what do sales need to be in order for you to have this full organization chart filled with skilled employees, and in order for you still to have a net profit to pay these people up here. So let's go back. So there are then 3 uploaded files here. There's, I'm just going to move this over. These are very simple. A lot of like high level math, not really. It's very simple just because it is simple. So I put the position title here, the number of people that I have in that role on the future chart, remember? Then you have a salary cap, like what is the most this position would ever make? There is a work plan describing how to do this. So at the end of the day here, you're going to have an estimated gross revenue here. Then there is, pull this one over. This is the raise calculator. Very simple. So it shows the position title here, the low salary, the high salary, and then it goes year by year, year 1, year 2, year 3. And so you can see each position, what they're hired in at their entry level amount, and then what the highest they'll ever get paid at is, what's the, as far as you know it now, what is the most you'd ever pay someone for that position or that work? And then it shows you what the percentage increase each year would be. So this helps when you're doing your performance review. And then lastly, this is the third spreadsheet. And this just shows an estimated of the salary cap. So what's the highest level it would be? Why this is important is it goes back to the organization chart here with this simple analysis of this is 2 years in the future. What do all these positions, what numbers or what salaries or hourly rate am I going to pay these positions? And does that still create a profitable business? So this is a strategy tool. I know I have it under administration and finance, but typically this would be like the president's job to do analysis like that, maybe with the help of the CFO, but this will step you through it. And I think it gives kind of some general guidance on how to really implement what I was talking about with the organization chart. So at the end of the day, this organization chart helps you to see positions and not necessarily people. It helps you to organize who does what, who is in each role, helps you to identify people who are filling multiple roles. It helps you to plan for how to get out of maybe a dysfunctional, disorganized situation that you're currently in and move towards a more structured one. It helps you to take some kind of disorganization that might be happening now and see it in a more organized way. I mean, really. I think it's great if you go through this exercise and create a future chart and put people's names in boxes and analyze the financials of it, to feel tremendously confident that if you follow this plan for the next 2 years, you will be profitable, and have more confidence that if you hire in a person here, that you know you're going to have enough help and time for the sales numbers to be coming in. Once you've done this, sit down and have a company meeting with your employees. Sit with them or sit with your department and say, this is our plan for the future. This is where we're going. This is where we are now. This is how I plan to get there. These are the position titles. These are the processes that we're going to need to document in order to make this a reality in the future, in order for us to grow in a sane way and start to scale and get to these goals I'm talking about. All these processes for each position are going to get documented over time and used and followed. This sets the stage for hopefully what becomes a process-dependent business that you're trying to create. And it gets your employees in that mindset of, okay, now we're going to do something different. We're going to not grow by the seat of our pants, but we're going to really move towards the future in a different way. So I'd recommend a meeting like that. It's a breath of fresh air to employees, and you're starting to really show them why processes are important.